Good morning, guys. It's a good Saturday morning. I'm really not used to waking up so early on a Saturday morning, but I have something interesting in front of me. Ta-da! I have Sylvan, and this is his Honda Civic. This is the 9th generation one, right?
This is the FB.
FB. Never heard of a Civic FB before, so very underrated lah, I'm guessing. So the Honda Civics has actually started back in 1972, and they have a lot of generations lah. This is basically the 9th one, and the current one that you all see everywhere, the one with the crab one, that's the 10th generation one. So I know usually I do a lot of interesting cars.
Exciting, not boring cars.
I didn't say, but I think this is interesting because, like, family people, if you all really want to know how it's like to own a Civic, a Honda, I would say. I don't. So how do you like the Civic?
Okay, so generally as a family, middle-sized family car, I think it's just right, just suitable.
When you say middle-sized family, how many people are you talking about?
So it fits perfectly if you just have one child.
Okay.
If you want to have a maid, just okay.
Okay.
So it fits everyone in the car.
Okay.
But if you want to have more than that, I think don't bother getting this.
Really?
X70, you're getting something a bit more bigger.
Okay.
Right? Because the moment you have one car seat in there, one baby seat, right, and you have to live with it until she's 10, she or he is 10. Okay. Right? You got no enough space.
Okay.
Alright. So generally for me, I picked this is because it's also more on the reasonable end, easy to maintain. You know, when you have kids, right, most of your expenses, your funds goes to them, right, to bring them up and whatnot. But I picked this because it was reasonable as an everyday car. You get to trash it, you get to run around, you see all the little scuff and marks and everything like that. You don't get too bothered about it.
Okay.
Right? Because for me personally, it's I just want something that is reliable. I do not have to spend most of my time in the workshop, which I will share with you later. Alright? And yeah, it's easy to run, easy to maintain. Yeah, so I'm going to take you from the exterior and then we're going to go to the interior later.
Yeah.
There's nothing much exterior. It's a family car, it's a bit boring. Okay? But I think one of the main important things is boot space.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So it fits a lot of stuff now. This is quite a messy boot space.
It's a family car, man.
Yeah. We took this car up to Johor, we took it up to Penang, so perfectly fine. Wife, myself and daughter in the car. Now this is the best part. Recaro seats.
Okay.
For the daughter. Alright? I myself don't get the pleasure of having Recaros before, but yeah, I opted for the Recaro being a car guy.
Did you purposely go and find a Recaro one?
Yeah. So my wife, she does a lot of reviews. She go and check every single brand, and then we went to this shop, and I'm like, I'm gonna get that. That's a Recaro, and I do not only have one, I have two because I have another car at home. So both of the cars have the Recaros in there. So
car guy,
my wife don't bother about just reading so much about it. Just go for Recaro because number one, it's a brand that makes car seats. So if they factor in children, I mean, they factor in all the technologies and the research into the car seat, so I'm sure it's a bit better. Huh?
You're just preparing your daughter, right?
Yes, correct.
Good.
So this morning, she was also asking me, oh, can I go out with you? I said, no, I can't take care of you when I'm out, you know? But next time when you get older, I'll take you along. She said, no, I can be on my own. I said, no, that's the point.
So independent already.
Yeah, but she I guess she wants to follow me because I always told her that on my weekend drives, which I'll share with you a bit more later. Okay. I tell her a bit more about my weekend drives. I take the other car out on the weekends, and she
introducing her to the car industry.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, and the other bit that she also enjoys is that because the other car is a drop-the-top car, so she kind of likes to sit in that car with the drop-top down. But I don't really take her out in that because it's the safety aspects of it. Okay. Essentially, if she goes out, she must have a car seat, regardless. In Malaysia, you have about, I think they didn't mention about the child having to be until 10 years old. Okay. Yeah. And the best part about this car seat is you can use it until 12 years old. So that's why I bought the Recaro also. You just need to remove the linings in there, and then you can actually sit on it.
Okay, understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You can tell how much the wife approves by how much she has to justify why he buys the seat.
yeah, correct. So I guess outside wise, it's a boring Chinese car, alright, but just
Reliable.
Yeah, reliable, good enough to get you to A to B. You don't have to visit the workshops often, alright? And yeah, let's go inside.
Okay, let's go. So now we're on the inside, and oh, I got to show you all this first. We came into his car, then I was doing my usual, oh, I've never been in the Civic, oh, and then I saw this. And I'm like, wow, this is a very, yeah, very good for my parents. I'll be like, hey, I wouldn't mind getting this car for my mom, because
Fat fingers kind of thing.
yeah.
The one thing that is quite nice about this, especially at night, right? It's quite illuminated. I mean, back then when I got this car, it was, I think about 4 years ago. It was quite illuminated, so it's quite nice and quite funky at night, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, because you got all this green bluish thing that's highlighting. But I'm sure right now the newer cars are a bit more illuminated.
But I like this cockpit though. I like how it is angled towards the driver a bit.
So it reminds me of that BMW kind of concept.
Okay.
That here is a bit angled. It's not so flat. If you notice that. And then I think earlier you were mentioning me about this bit here, right?
Yeah.
So back then FBs have three different specs. I think it's a 1.8, 2 liter, and the 2 liter basic, and the 2 liter which is they have the media,
the
touch
infotainment.
screens, the infotainment kind of thing. So yeah, I just opted for this simple and easy, because at the end of the day, if I intend to change it, I can just go to any shop to just get it rewired.
Okay. So how has the maintenance of this car been?
Very reliable.
Like, is it true what they say about Hondas, Toyotas, where you really don't have to bother much?
So generally, the bits that I would like to share is that generally Japanese cars are very much more easier to maintain. Right? Then again, the older European cars also tends to be a bit more about the same around the same price range as well. But as an everyday car, when you go through all these bumps and holes, and Malaysian roads, it's quite bad, right? When you go through all these bumps and holes, right, you feel a bit samtong, when I drive my ass, okay, right, it's like you go over a small bump, it's like you feel a bit samtong with it.
Yes.
But for a Japanese car, right, somehow or other you know that it's quite reliable, the things are a bit more longer lasting, and over a long period of time, right, your maintenance, I think it's quite reasonable, I would say.
So you said you had this car for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Has there been any major issue?
Yeah. So touch wood, there is currently no major issues. Just the usual wear and tear things, repairs, all those normal wear and tear stuff. You definitely need to change to make sure that it runs well.
Okay.
I think one of the main things that I really wanted is that at the end of the day, I didn't want a car to give me any issues. So having to say that, earlier on I was sharing a slight story, right? That before this, I used to drive a Peugeot 308.
Okay.
Right? And before that, I drove a Peugeot 206. So it was a transition, 206 and then 308.
Wow.
But mind you, 308 it's a very nice, fun car, right? At least for the first 2 years, right?
Okay. So both brand new.
Yeah, well, no, the 206 I got it as a PO. So I bought it off from this lady.
Okay.
And back then when driving the 206, right, it's like everywhere you go, you tend to attract some attention. Maybe it's the shape and whatnot. That was easily 10 years ago. Okay. Right? Then I figured, 206 is a very nice car. I enjoy driving it. So I walked for the 308.
You must have loved Peugeots a lot.
Yeah, somehow rather back then I did.
Okay.
Right? But actually right now, to be frank, even the 308 it's quite nice. It's quite nice. So when I moved on to a 308, the first 2 years was bliss. I think it was a very, very nice car to drive. It was a very nice car to own.
So I gotta ask, maintenance, first 2 years. Okay, when you talk about the bliss, the honeymoon period, first 2 years, okay
Maintenance, no problem.
no problem
Yeah,
first
no
2 years.
issues, right?
Okay.
As usual, wear and tears and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah. Then again, back before I even bought the car, right? Because it was I think it's a 1.6, I think. I can't remember. 1.6 is a Prince engine, and then they share the same platform with the Mini Cooper. So I thought, hey, why not? Okay lah, you know, since it's being used in the Mini, should be okay, not too bad. Yeah, fast forward after owning it for about 2.5 to 3 years, that's where everything starts to slowly pop up.
So the honeymoon period is at most 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have this, suddenly the check engine light will come out.
Okay.
And you're like, oh shit, what's wrong with it? So back then I was so into cars that I even got a OBD sensor.
Yep.
I bought it off eBay, plug it into my ECU, it starts to read, and you know, I get fault codes that says, oh, depollution sensors and whatnot like that.
Okay.
So I figured, okay. So and this is along the lines of what everyone was saying back in the forum, you see. So never mind, you know, I send it back to the service center, get it all checked out, fine, totally fine. So pick it up, drives well again.
Okay, so after the check engine light, you send it back to the service center, then it came back okay.
Yeah, it came back okay. So then you start driving, you know, perfectly fine
Happy
again.
Happy,
you know. I used to always term it as sweet and sour car, because sweet is when you really get to drive it.
Okay.
I used to take it off on weekend drives as well, together with the 308 group. But sorrow is when things start to go wrong, right? So the two main things about Peugeots is, especially for the 308, as far as I know, number one, your high pressure fuel pump.
Okay.
Right? Number two, your turbocharger. So these are the two issues that could go wrong with the car.
How have you deduced this? After how many years of, or how many months of going in and out of the workshop?
To be frank, I didn't count how many times, but it was the ownership experience is like, you know, you can imagine you have to bring in a car, send it to the workshop, set out your own time, and then you got to work, and then back then Grab was not a real ease of a tool to actually use, you see. So it's a hassle, you see. So you send the car to the workshop, you get someone to pick you up, and then 3 or 4 days later they call, you pick up the car, it's under warranty, yada, it's fine. But the moment you cross over the warranty period, about the 4th or 5th year or so, right, that's where, you know, things will start to get a bit worrying, you see.
Okay.
Because you have to pay, right? It gets a bit sorrowful back then.
Okay.
Yeah. So
at that time, I'm guessing no wife, nothing yet lah.
So
right? No commitment.
back then was girlfriend, no
Bachelor.
issues. Yeah, bachelor.
Okay.
You can do anything you want. Until to the about 4th or 5th year of owning it at the time, that's where everything starts to go wrong.
Okay.
So imagine you're driving on the road, and then you know that your turbocharger is spooling, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly you don't get the blow off sound.
Okay. Yes.
So and then when you try to step on the accelerator, you're like, shit, the turbocharger is not initiating. It's not working at all. And I'm like, you're driving an NA car and a 1.6. I'm like, oh my god, if it's the purpose of buying a Peugeot, you see. Thankfully, I got to know a mechanic. He's a freelance mechanic, right?
Did he specialize in Peugeot?
Yeah, he specialized in Peugeot. So nice guy to the point of sometimes I'll call him and say, okay, my car has some issues. Can you just come over to my condo and then just have it a check, give it a check and whatnot.
Yeah.
So he did, came over, said, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. I kind of trust him because he has fixed quite a number of cars, and especially 308 per se. So he knows what he is doing, you see. So the first issue was the high pressure fuel pump. You know, did not change. You know, this guy is like your workshop, which is underneath the
underneath the tree.
Underneath the tree, you know. Imagine he can change a high pressure fuel pump without having to hoist the car. Actually, he just jack up the car because he needs to go underneath. But he being a freelance, you know, he just do what he needs to do. I trust him in whatever he needs to do. And parts also, I managed to get a friend to source it out for me.
Okay.
So this friend, these two guys, I would say, it made the ownership experience after the authorized service center even much more better. So trigger point, like I mentioned earlier, was when my wife was due. I think easily about 3 to 4 months before that, and the car, after fix and everything, had some slight issues again.
Still had slight issues after being fixed.
Correct. So it's either the high pressure fuel pump or the turbocharger thing.
Okay. It's always either one.
Yeah, so it's always
together.
either one.
Okay.
Either that, besides that, it's a totally fine car.
Okay.
Right? I can't imagine bringing my daughter back and then suddenly the car got issues again. So I like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to sell the car.
The fatherly duty, your responsibility.
So back then, right, I really wanted to buy a W204 C200. That's the one with the compressor engine. Okay? Then having the discussion with my wife, right, it's like, she was like saying, do you really want to buy a second-hand car? I'm like, but I like the car. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to go to the Honda dealer and I'm just going to get the Civic.
Why Honda? Why Civic? Why not Toyota?
Thank God that the brothers on the rise now. Endless celebrations all in my house. Levitating now, I'm super duper fly now. London boy, but DC where I reside now. Put the time in while you always yelling time out. And if quit it, cause I know I'm coming with it. You were sitting, you were wishing I was handling my business. Now I got the ball like Harry Potter playing Quidditch. And my business is humongous, you would think that happens in there. Damn man, I'm all that, yeah, I'm all that. Looking for that whip, yeah, that what you call that. I'ma blow up in the summer, have them yelling fall back. And I've always been ahead like an effing ball cap. Man, I came in the game like, whoa. Got a couple chains on me cause I like gold. They told me I'm the best and I told them I know. Cause when I'm in your town, every ticket I sold. Yeah, they saying I'm the man. Facts, bro. Lot of haters, tell me where they at though. I'm the new pop, all I do is rap though.
My association with Japanese cars are always Honda related. I have no idea why. I also wanted to make sure that I do not overspend on a car.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the most important thing, especially when you have an up-and-coming child. You do not want to splurge
Finances
so much.
has to be reprioritized.
Reprioritize, that's the right word for it.
Okay.
Reprioritize. At least 5 years of getting a new car, I do not want to have any troubles.
Okay,
So
understand.
what's best? I just go for Japanese.
Okay.
Right? And then live with it. And then let's decide how later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why the Honda Civic.
That's where the Honda Civic came out. And
Did you even go and look at other cars?
oh no, I didn't.
Why a sedan? Why not an SUV? Or at that point of time, SUVs weren't really the in thing yet.
Yeah, I would say SUVs back then you got the option of Honda CR-Vs right, back then.
Yes.
And CX-5 was one of the consideration as well, but somehow or other I just didn't have the attachment or that feel towards it.
Yeah.
But if back then they had the Proton X70
Definitely.
for that price, I will most probably consider it.
Consider, you only consider, not like the most buy.
No, not respect.
Top of your head, what's the most memorable time that you had or experience with this car?
This car, it's really the road trips in this car you make together with your family, and you know the fun and laughter that you have in the car,
Yeah.
and the trips that you do. I think those are the more memorable ones.
What's the one thing you hate about this car? Like hate.
Japanese car. It's a Japanese car. Conti car. Yeah. It's Conti car. But it's a noise, okay? So anything above like 130 or is it 140? Then again, you shouldn't be driving that fast, especially when you have family in the car. Okay, but when you drive on the highway,
Yep.
and then you have those noise that comes in, it irritates you a bit,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So that would be that one thing that
Okay.
I would like
Okay
to change.
Yeah. Even when you were talking just now, I noticed that NVH was like I could hear everything that was going on outside.
Yeah.
But to a certain point, I wouldn't completely insulate that because it's also part of, like you said, safety.
Yeah.
To know that there's a lorry coming from the side, there's a motorcyclist on the side. Because sometimes you really, when you cannot hear, you're not aware.
Yeah.
And you just think like, oh, I can just cut in, cut out, and you don't even have to look at your mirror. Because sometimes you're just on autopilot.
That's right. That's very true. At the end of it, I still want to get my Boxster.
Yeah, every time I talk to him, he'll mention this Boxster. Let's try. What Boxster are you looking for? Specifically, down to the detail.
Down to the details. It's a, what's it, 981? Yeah, 981. So it's the 981 Boxster. So it has to be a Boxster S.
Okay.
It's a 3.4 litre, right? Definitely with that it comes with that chrono package and whatnot like that.
Okay. Any specific colour of the exterior, of the interior?
Actually, I don't mind any colour, but my favourite colour has always been blue. Right? And yeah, maybe I'll share more later when we go into the other car about the Boxster.
Oh,
Right.
okay.